that I decided to go with was the Sony FX3, but I just wanted to bring this quick video to you guys to pretty much let you know my decision-making process and the reason why I ultimately landed on the Sony FX3, just in case some of you guys are out there, you guys are trying to find the best camera for your workflow, or you're just interested in this type of content. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. All right, y'all, if you like content like this, make sure you like and subscribe to your boy. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. All right, y'all, if you like content like this, make sure you like and subscribe to your boy. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. So before I start talking about the Sony FX3 and the reason why I landed on this camera as my perfect workhorse camera for my workflow, I just want to talk about some of the other cameras you guys mentioned in the comment section and some of the cameras that I honestly heavily contemplated. So the first camera I'm going to mention, and this is just, you know, what's the phrase? Get the elephant out of the room, whatever. This is the main camera that a lot of people mentioned outside of the Sony FX3, and that's the new Lumix S1 II. And this camera is a very amazing camera. And in a lot of ways, this camera is an upgrade over the Sony FX3 for a lower price when it comes to the spec sheets and all the things that they offer. I really love what Lumix is doing inside of their cameras with the same sensors that are inside of a lot of the Sony cameras. They are really pushing the limits and showing what's capable, and I love that. I genuinely do. One of the thought processes that I went through when choosing my camera is that at the end of the day, this camera is not only just for me. It's not just for me and my content creation or even my short film stuff that I've been trying to work on. It's also for my clientele and a lot of the work that I do. And one of the things that I really genuinely cared about is my cameras working and being consistent in various conditions and situations. So when I was looking into the Lumix S1 II, I am the type of person to overthink and do a whole bunch of research before I make any purchasing decision. And honestly, this camera was looking like the camera that was gonna move me over to Lumix. But I have discovered so many people that have talked about overheating, and this was before people started posting YouTube videos about it. I discovered so many comments in Facebook groups and stuff like that of people just dealing with overheating and trying to find ways to compensate for it. And some people found some really good things that can compensate for the overheating. So if you do have one of these cameras or you do plan on getting one of these cameras, there are ways in which you can help combat the overheating problem. There are ways in which you should shoot that will likely lessen your chances of your camera overheating. But to be honest, this is just something that was too risky for me, especially when I'm doing so many different things. All I can think about is if I'm shooting a wedding ceremony. These are moments that you can't have back. The first kiss is a moment you can't just be like, wait, pause everybody, my camera overheated, let's wait 10-15 minutes and then all come back out. That's just not possible. And I feel like if the kind of work that I did was different, that would have been a camera that I easily would have switched over to and been happy with. I'm thinking if I mainly shot like narrative or even with commercial shoots, if it's not like as high end and it's not as demanding, if you're able to like take your time and pace yourself more, you're not under like crazy time restraints. Also product stuff, content stuff, I feel like that camera is absolutely amazing because you can slow things down. If you feel like the temperature of your camera is getting more warm, you can call a quick break and then come back to it. So I'm not saying that this camera is a no-go or a no-buy, but I do encourage you out there, if you are looking to do a lot of client work, you are looking to shoot events, shoot weddings, you're also looking to do commercial stuff and work with businesses and do corporate, don't just get the camera with the highest specs and all the things that you would want in a dream body. Get the workhorse camera that works. And I'm not saying that that's always Sony. Canon has a really good ecosystem of cinema cameras that also don't rarely overheat, and I feel like that's something that's just very important to invest in. Okay, camera number 2. Some people mentioned me switching over to Nikon, and I'm going to be honest, this Nikon was not high on my list, and my number one reason why is just because I don't feel like they have a ecosystem that's built for cinematographers and filmmakers down the line. So I love the idea of a ladder. So with Sony, they have a consistent ladder structure. You can go as low as the Sony FX30. well, FX30, FX2, FX3, you get an FX6, a FX9, then you have the Buranos, the Venices. There is a clear pathway. Same thing with Canon. Canon has the C70, the C80, and then you can move up, you can get the C300, C400. You can move up into their even better camera lines, and I feel like that's very, very important, just because in the future, if I plan on shooting a higher end commercial, I can always rent these higher end cameras and match the footage to my cameras, and I feel like that's something that is very, very important for me. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't consider Nikon. And then the biggest camera that, if I'm being 100% real with y'all, there was a 80% chance that I was gonna buy this camera, and that is the Sony FX2. And I know some people are gonna be like, because I know this camera gets a lot of hate online, but if I'm being completely real and honest, the Sony FX2 really had and still has me, it has me intrigued. Obviously, I'm not gonna get it now, but I feel like this camera is a really good camera for someone like me. If you are a hybrid shooter, if you shoot photos, you shoot videos, you shoot in different various conditions, the Sony FX2 might be an amazing pickup for you. I understand the 4K 60 with a crop, and it's just a Sony a7 IV and a FX3 body, but if I'm being real, the Sony a7 IV is probably one of the best, is the best Sony camera that I have ever owned to date. Now I own the Sony FX3, so I'm gonna see if I change my mind about that, but I took the Sony FX4 everywhere. I've shot photography with it, I've done video with it, and it's always been capable. So I feel like the Sony FX2 is very, very amazing for hybrid shooters. And I understand it doesn't have the 12,800 ISO, but I didn't get the Sony FX3 because of the 12,800 ISO. If I'm being real, I feel like that's overrated. Yes, there are ways in which like it does make your life easier, especially when shooting events and weddings. But if I'm shooting something more cinematic and I'm shooting like a short film or something like that, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to shoot at 12,800 ISO in the middle of the night all the time. Like sometimes I want that moodiness, I want that darkness, and I feel like 4,000 ISO is honestly very good. It's extremely good. So I feel like the Sony FX2 gets a lot of hate, but I feel like once it comes out and people start getting their hands on it, people are gonna really appreciate the sensor, appreciate the image quality, appreciate the fact that it's a nice little swing between cinema and photography. So ultimately, the reason why I got the Sony FX3, because I was 80% going to just get the Sony FX2, save more money and call it a day. But I ended up getting an amazing deal on a slightly used Sony FX3 that I just couldn't pass up. Essentially, it would have cost me the same amount after taxes to get the Sony FX2 than it cost me to get the Sony FX3. And by far, the Sony FX3 is a better camera. You have better low light performance. I can be able to shoot 120 frames per second, no crop. At the end of the day, I feel like this is essentially the same camera as the Sony FX6 in a smaller, more compact battery. And then trade-offs. What do I lose? I lose the internal NDs and some of the other audio ports that I just wasn't, or some of the other ports that I wasn't using all the time because I wasn't bringing my Sony FX6 into large crews and rigging it up, and I wasn't using the SDI ports and all that. With the Sony FX3, I still get time code if needed for larger productions. I get that internal, that IBIS, that internal stabilization, which is very, 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 very crucial and important. And then on top of that, I get this small form factor that I can rig up, which I already have a really nice rig that I put together for the Sony FX3. So if you guys want to see that, I'm going to be dropping that soon. And then I can also tear it down when needed. So with that being said, if you're out there and you're looking for a camera, just get the camera that works for you, the camera that works within your workflow. At the end of the day, I could have went with any of these cameras and still been good, still went out, shot my client work, and not have any issues at all. So I just want to say that as an encouragement for anybody that's out there looking at cameras. Just get whatever works within your workflow. It doesn't matter if it's APS-C or it's full frame. Just look for a 10-bit 422 color science, something that you could color grade and still get amazing images, and you should be good. But with that being said, much love y'all. I'm out.